Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of All Chat. This time around, we've got Ceb, who's going to be joining us. Thank you, Ceb, for taking the time to come on to our little podcast.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so you guys all just came back from Dreamleague. In fact, Quinn, you and Ceb almost like tied out in position. So I guess the first thing is, how'd you guys feel Dreamleague went?
I mean, for us, it was just a gigantic emotional roller coaster. I think this year, we just had a really privileged experience last year in terms of how it went. My Dota career has just been a roller coaster recently. I went from like never get more than 12th ever to like we won everything, and then now we're kind of like sucking a little bit. And so I've never been in this position before where I was owning and now we're sucking. And so we're just kind of trying to figure that out and how to stop sucking right now.
Is it worse because it's kind of like this precipitous fall where you guys, like before when you were kind of sucking and then you got worse, it was like, okay, kind of whatever. But when you become the best and then you suck, is it like worse in that regard to go down?
I think maybe it is if you've been winning for a long time, but we weren't winning for that long. We just won like a lot in a short period. So I don't think I reached the stage of like entitlement where like I'd like deserve to win or something. I was just sort of like, it was nice to win and now we're not. Oh, I forgot what it feels like. That's sad.
And Seb, maybe this is from an outsider's perspective, but how did you feel? Because from my perspective, I guess expectations-wise, I feel like you guys met expectations or maybe surpassed it, being like a newer team on the rise.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think we did better. Like we just played better Dota. Just regardless of the result, we played better Dota than we did the weeks leading to that, and maybe the months leading to that. So in that sense, it was successful for us. I think we didn't have enough time with Timado to kind of build, and it was kind of rushed for us. So we just had to improve along the way and adapt to the better teams, because I think a lot of teams in that tournament were like, objectively better than us. But we put up a pretty good fight, and we're on the way to hopefully catch up with the best and challenge them on a more like stable basis. So as far as it went for us, it was good.
Aiden, do you want to talk about your Dreamleague?
I mean, we didn't attend Dreamleague, unfortunately, so I can't share in these guys' experience. No, but I mean, Dreamleague was pretty bad for us, as Dreamleagues have been recently. Yeah, I think the last 3 Dreamleagues we've won like a grand total of like 5 games. So I don't know what happens in Dreamleague specifically, or if it's like that it's like, you play a tournament and then right at the end of this tournament we come home and we're used to kind of getting a little bit of a break. So I think people maybe like take their foot off the gas a bit mentally, and you allow yourself to kind of relax. And then we get into Dreamleague and it's like a wake up call, like holy shit, everyone's trying to win, and we're just like not full focus maybe the way we need to be, or we just suck, and that's the truth. And Dota in 2024, you suck a little bit and then you're last place.
William has always told me, now this was a case even like 2 or 3 years ago, that your team is always a team that like needs to grind a lot in order to be good. And he feels like you guys have a high ceiling, but your floor is maybe lower than other teams, just because if you don't grind, you end up getting kind of bad. Would you agree with that?
I think we used to be more like that than we are now. Like, I think the old roster, like the Tommy Max roster, that team, I always felt like we had to go to a tournament, get last place, get motivated like to play better, and then get last place again to get even more motivated to play better. Like we needed like to lose 2 tournaments to figure out some stuff, and then like by tournament 3 there was hope and there was like a chance that we could perform. But I think this roster has been kind of stable since the start. Like I think this is like kind of okay, that's not true actually. Well, since TI in Singapore, I think we've been pretty stable, and I think we've been extremely lazy. But I think I don't know. We're like, it's catching up to us for sure. For sure, it's catching up to us. Like I feel it for myself. Like just going back to playing pubs. Like I'm playing so bad. Like I'm griefing half my games, and definitely been too lazy.
Has anyone gotten Aiden in their pubs recently?
No, I didn't.
I haven't. He always checks. He always writes "see you at 6 minutes" or some crap, and then we win the game really fast. That always happens when I play with Aiden.
Yeah, me and Quinn's games are good because I just go to the rune, I pretend I'm Celery, I pick like Undying or Enchantress, and I just run to the rune, and no matter what, I just go there, I click some spells on the other mid laner, I know Quinn's happy, and then the game's pretty much easy from there on out.
So Seb, this is like a constant back and forth between Aiden and Quinn. How he always talks about like the Gaming Gladiators play style. Now that you're a 5 position, how do you treat your mids? Do you feel like Gaming Gladiators have the right idea, which is both supports rotate for 6 and 8 minute runes? Anything for Quinn?
I mean, I did watch a lot of their replays, obviously, and because they're probably the best team at doing that. And as a new 5, I realized when playing against these 3, I mean, obviously all of them, but these 3, that I was griefing my mid somehow. I didn't really know how at the beginning because I come from being a core. Like, it's not easy. Like, I honestly, I always respected 5 players, but not until like I started really respecting them when I started playing these first like 10 minutes, and I realized what happens in the first 10 minutes for 5 is like the equivalent of playing a 60-minute game when you're a core. It's like there's so much decision making to be done, like the small things and stuff, and they're really good at it. And you have to catch up and understand how they think and what they do, and how to counter it, how to deal with it, how to find your way also, because I think it's also a player kind of preference and style. So there is like there are nuances to it, I would say. But yeah, very inspiring stuff for sure. You gotta catch up.
I actually have a really old story of like, so when I first started playing Dota, Kebab introduced me and Mickey to Ceb. Like this is
I was not ready for that.
ages ago. Yeah, we were super trash. But so I got to know Ceb pretty early on after I switched to Dota, and then let's say maybe like 2 or 3 years after that, maybe even further, Seb would like send like supportive messages, like be like, "Hey, I really noticed that you're improving a lot." And one of the things I really remember that stands out to me was you sent me a message which was specifically about this. It was like, the way you rotate to mid, I know it's not easy to like make these moves work and time it right so that you don't grief your safe lane and stuff. So just now that you brought it up, it kind of brought that memory back to me, and it's kind of cool how like these things work in Dota, where like,
and then I was the
something from
one
like 3 years
it.
ago. Sorry?
Then I was the one relearning it.
Yeah, exactly.
Watching you play and like, how does he do it? Why is it so smooth? Why isn't it smooth when I do it? What's going on? So it's a cycle. It's funny.
Yeah.
Who would you say that you studied the most from your transition to support?
I mean, I looked at gaming a lot, just for I guess the quality of execution. I think they had that going. Looked at Liquid for creativity. I think I don't know if that rings a bell, but I do feel like to me, I'm a kind of player that I like to think. I like to be able to think outside the box, kind of outside the system. Also, I don't like scripts as much as, but that's kind of where the game has headed. That's just how it is, right? So as much as I don't like scripts, I ended up realizing that it was hurting me and it was like kind of holding me back. So I found a better balance, but still, I think my natural is always to look at, is there something I could be doing that people haven't thought of, or is it like a nicer way to do it, or whatever. But it is difficult. It's difficult. I think you need to reach a certain level of execution. And honestly, yeah, actually, I did watch these teams a lot because I think these were the teams that, back when I started switching or thinking about the switch, were like the best at it. So it made a lot of sense, and they had the nicest system.
You mentioned there's more structure now than there used to be. Do you think that's just because or structure wasn't the word you used? I forget, what was the word you used?
Like scripts.
Yeah. Do you think that's because people got better, or do you think it's because the game changed? Do you think it's like a combination of multiple things?
I think it's a combination of both. I think you put it well. It's actually these two things, but I do feel like there is something about the game. And to me, the biggest reason, and whenever I get the chance to talk to devs or something, that's usually my feedback. It's like, there are so many camps. So there used to be like, it used to be okay in Dota sometimes to just like transition in from one play to the other, or like you had pauses in the game, and that's just not the case now. You need to be like, you need like your 110% efficiency on all roles at all times. And if you don't do that, whatever you go for, if you sacrifice efficiency a little bit too much, you're actually griefing the game. No matter how clutch you're being, no matter how much you're anticipating, you're reading your opponents, like all of these things don't matter as much as they used to, honestly. I feel like efficiency is kind of the rule of the game. At least that's what the game tells me. And yeah, you can sometimes be creative, or like kind of think outside the box. But these things nowadays, I feel like they hurt you more than they help. And maybe it's because people are that good that they're so efficient that whatever you do doesn't match that efficiency. But I think it's also that the game allows that. It didn't used to. It didn't allow it as much before, from what I can remember. Yeah, you didn't have to. It's like, how many neutral camps are there? Like realistically, like how many camps can you stack and farm at the same time? And if you're not doing that, and now like with the stack buffs and stuff, if you're not doing that, whatever you're doing, it actually doesn't matter. You're actually griefing the game, which is a little bit sad in my opinion. Yeah, I miss the big plays.
Do you think the new map, the gigantic map, made the game better or worse as a whole? Do you think it was necessary? Do you think it was, frivolous? How do you feel about it?
I think it made it better because the game had already reached that state, in my opinion, of like efficiency versus being creative and going for plays. So if anything, I think it extended the options, like gates and all these things. Like I actually liked it a lot, even though usually I'm reluctant to change because I'm a boomer. And I'm French, so that's like two problems that I have with change. It's a lot for me. Like it's you guys don't understand like what I go through. When there's a patch, it's like it's my despair day.
The trauma.
Everybody's like waiting for it. They get excited. I remember with Topjas, it was the two extremes because like he dies, he craves for patches. It's like Christmas, and for me, it's like, oh my god, here we go again.
To figure everything out.
Yeah, and it was the worst. And yeah, I mean, no, I really liked it. I think it changed when they really increased farm speed on heroes, when they increased the number of camps, when they increased, maybe the economy and the gold system, how they balanced it out. I think all of that put together made it that, yeah. I remember going back to games and it's like, oh, they did this smoke into the triangle and they contested a stack and then they early took the tower. And then like that was all the game was about, right? Like it was like a big turning point. And I don't think you ever think of that anymore. It's like either everything crumbles or teams are being efficient and everything is good. You're going to get where you want to get. But yeah.
What do you think about another development of the game? I guess part of it is the fact that there are many objectives constantly, right? There's lotuses, and bounty runes, and wisdom runes, and tormentor, and Roshan. I feel like there is this, from my perspective as a caster, one thing I see is every single, like when a team is winning, they make this move where they take Roshan and then the first Rosh, and they make the move for the 21-minute wisdom rune, where they take the tier 1 tower, the tier 2 tower, they take the wisdom rune, they take the enemy tormentor, right? They do all of these things because it's like super efficient objective wise. Do you think like the number of these little objectives stifles creativity in that regard, where it's like you have to go do this thing? Yeah.
No, stifles, like, does stifle mean that you got to do them, like it reduces it, or do you mean it increases it?
Yeah, it reduces creativity.
I think it reduces it greatly because you have to be ready for these things. And yes, sometimes certain games allow you to look at other things, but for sure, like it reduces it drastically. And I don't know how much I like it. I think it makes the game easier to play in the sense that it's more straightforward and it makes it easier to improve in a sense, like to study and improve and get your system and build. But yeah, I really miss creativity in Dota. I think there's still an element of it, a big part, but not as much as it used to be. And this is when you could sometimes see something happen, or like whether it is builds or hero picks or setting up lanes. Like where are the tri lanes? Like I kind of miss that side of Dota where it's like, well, these guys switch lanes. Back then, like at the beginning, you had to think so hard about all the options that they could do. They could be switching lanes. They could be tri-laning. They could be dual laning mid. They could be like, there was so much. And now it's like everybody does the same stuff before the rune, after the runes, the same check, the same items. I used to flame players that would go for the same item build every game. I'm like, there's something wrong. It means the guy is just not thinking about the game, right? He's not thinking about what heroes he's facing, what heroes he has on his team. There's I used to say that every Dota game is completely unique, therefore there's zero chance that the exact same item build is going to make sense, right? I changed my mind completely on that. Like, I think 9 times out of 10 there is like the efficient item build, and that's it. And all of that is kind of, I think most of the Dota players that got to that level are incredibly smart about the game, but just smart in general and creative. And we don't get to see that as much as we should, in my opinion.
I think talking on that, then the patch is coming, so I know you're going to be quite sad when that comes. But what is something that could happen in the patch that would make you happy to see? What would be like the number one thing?
I give up on patches. I have zero expectations, basically. I just expect to go through a rough couple days, and I'm ready. That's just it. I'm sure Quinn and Insane are gonna have like better takes than me on that one.
I actually honestly kind of relate to that. I don't know what, but I totally get what he means. Like, I feel like I remember right before the new map was released, I felt like the game was so figured out, and it brought me more joy, like for myself, that I know like I just need to do this and I'll cook every pub. It's more so for pubs than pro games. I kind of like the figuring out a patch part for pro games. But in pubs, when you play 5, sometimes, oh my god, it's so miserable when nobody has any clue what they're doing and they're just testing random stuff. And there's some people that are just playing the same stuff that was imba in the last patch. They just want to get MMR now. Like everyone's playing random shit, and I'm just gonna last pick Naga Siren. Like every game, no cares. And then you're just like, no clue if this was good or not. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I'm excited for. I know I talked about this last time we did the podcast, but I just feel like I want to play anything, but I just want to get away from only playing heroes that are good on lane. I feel like right now, like supports become like so much. Just you need to be good at laning, and if your hero's not good at laning, just don't play it. Play something else. Like I want to play Oracle, and I can't ever because like
always comes back to Oracle.
Why shouldn't I just be Undying? Like I'll just do like my carries game will be better, and then you'll farm faster, and then I'll just stack some camps, no problem. All good, great. And
I'm
like,
so happy that you're not playing Oracle, by the way. Just saying, from somebody that has to play against it, just keep it up. I still have PTSD from your Oracle.
Oh, I appreciate hearing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I just want to play like some, I want to play Coddle and give someone mana, and like we built some cool strat around it where like it's like giga abusive. Like I saw some guy play Coddle mid, and he would like recall me and chakra me and recall me and chakra me, and I was like, this is broken. If I could do this as 5, like. Because the recall now gives you chakra and you just chakra. And I'm like, oh my god, it's so sick. I want to go build a strat around this. And then I just go play lane as position 5 Coddle. And my Faceless Void like abandons the game, after seeing me pick my hero. There's just I don't even get to try it. I can't even like create something. And I would love
my five journeyman so far. It's like you should actually check my pubs. I think I played like 7 Coddles. Like you're talking about this. I played 7 Coddles in the last 4 days. Like I'm trying to make it work, and then my carry is always like, yeah, but the other guy has a CM, like, and then I see CM pressing QW on every wave, and I'm like, yeah, but I give you 75 mana, just hold, like, our time will come, It's hard, man. But I didn't give up, so.
Yeah. No, I just want it to be more possible, I guess, or less punishing to do other things than, like, the script, I guess, if you want to call it that. Or, like, the pick, 5 should win lane, carry should win the game, mid laner, some dude you try lane between minutes 6 and 12. It would be nice to like kind of get other ways of playing to be viable.
I mean, I think in an ideal world, you have laning in a situation where like all heroes have merit in laning and there becomes more game understanding and counter picking and like synergy and things that become relevant as opposed to like Timbersaw has 69 base damage. So the hero is really good because he gets all the creeps because he has 1 billion damage. And Oracle has no damage, so you can't play him. Like, isn't that like kind of a stupid metric for heroes to be good or not? The DK has 18 HP regen, level 1, so you can't hit him. So he's good. Like, I don't know. It's like, it's a bit of a silly reason to have to pick heroes. And that's sort of what drives me up the wall is like when heroes are good for like dumb reasons. Like, Chen just prints gold and is like, well, you can't, literally unbeatable in lane. He's like some unbeatable hero. So like, you just can't play against it now. Like you can pick Potom and whatever creep eaters you want. It doesn't matter. He just auto wins the game. You can't do anything. Like stuff like that is very like Goober Town or like certain mids that like, I don't know, like Void Spirit, for instance. I mean, I'm biased towards this hero, but like there's like 75 heroes in the game that stomp him like 112-0 in lane. Like you just cannot play the game. And so like I can only last pick it if they pick Puck because it's the only hero we can lane against. Like, can we have a little more evenness here? I don't know. I think like heroes that are broken in lane are important for the game. That like, you know, turbo counter pick things and stuff. Like there needs to be some variance there so that other things don't become broken. But I do agree that there are too many heroes that are like ostracized from the game because they just can't play the early game.
I mean, I might be completely wrong, but I feel like at least like in my boomer days, or like there used to be like this idea that if like the hero's really good in lane, they like kind of scale off in some ways. But now with how powerful items are, it's like it just doesn't matter. Like if you have any issues in the game, just buy items. You know, you can play Razor, Huskar, Mars, and you just win your lanes and you get items and you solve any issues that the heroes have. And because of that, it becomes like laning is such a big part of the game where like you will never fall off if you have enough of a gold lead. At least like when I play Chen, I feel like that's like the main thing with Chen. I can just, you know, pick my choice of items that will just make nobody die. And then, you know, XD, come fight me.
And I think it's also related, like it's also related to the map because like the map is so important. Like having enough map is so important because of the gold and like because of the resources. And it didn't have to be like that. Like you could win games by conceding map, and you didn't like auto win games if you just took too much map, right? And I think the fact that it is like that, it's like you win lanes, you take map, you win game. It's like it just through economy, you know, you're saying items, like that's what it is, right? Because like how do you get to these items is by farming the camps and being allowed to farm these camps and getting the objectives that are on the map, getting the wisdom runes, getting the controlling the runes and all of that. That layer kind of went away, which it really adds up because I agree with Quinn that it is important to have these lane stomping heroes. Like at the end of the day, it is a feature of the game. And if somebody decides to go for a strat where they're gonna pick Undying and they're gonna pick like whatever Viper, you name them, it's cool for it to be here, I think, and to get punished when you're trying to be greedy or you're going for something that scales into the game. I think all these things are normal. But right now, it's like realistically, you can't like end the game. They also remove that from it. Like you can't punish people for wanting, like back in the days, you had one guy go, I don't know. I remember games where you had like a carry that would go for Battle Fury, and they had a TA mid, and you'd like, you clowns are gonna lose in 15 minutes. Like the game is just gonna end. It's gonna collapse on you, minute 15. You're just not allowed to do that, unless you saw like an opening in the draft to exploit. But now there's absolutely zero problem in doing so because you can't push tier 2s that efficiently, like too early in the game, let alone finishing the game with the glyphs and how the buildings are. And there are so many camps to farm. Like, what are you even trying to do? You're trying to win the game. Like, you should just be farming. Like, what are you doing? You know, why are you trying to pressure? Why are you trying to get kills? Why are you trying to push? Just go stack some camps, enjoy your life, collect the bounty runes. You know, that part is really the part that triggers me.
I mean, I had some idea that it's slightly related to like how weak super creeps are compared to heroes nowadays. Because I feel like back in the day, if you like got a Rax at minute 20, the amount of pressure that this creep wave would put on you was like you kind of already lost the game in some ways. And I feel like I don't know if it has been tweaked, but I feel like it needs to be probably looked at because that's probably something where you could make it like so that it's worth it for you to get wiped to get Rax. And if that becomes viable, like 5 heroes die but you get Rax is good, then like Dota's gonna become like a different game again where you're gonna see these like early high ground attempts and teams like maybe pushing the objective a bit more.
Yeah,
I mean, at least in my mind, it must
I feel
be
like super creeps are whatever, and even mega creeps are to some degree like so much more defeatable than they used to be. In fact, I was actually, you know, who had a kind of an interesting idea on this take was Pyrian Flax. Ted was talking about it at Dreamleague, and he was like, he brought up the same thing, except for with megas. He was like, mega creeps is not the end of the game anymore. And he actually wanted to see a change where mega creeps, once they got in your base, they would ignore heroes. They would just go for the objective. So it would kind of put you on a timer, right? Where it was like, these creeps will eventually take your objective, right? You are on a timer. The game is going to end unless you just have some insane like creep clearing, right? So it's like they will start taking away your objectives, kind of no matter what. Which I don't know if that's the right take, but I thought it was an interesting one, and definitely helps deal with some of what we're talking about here, right? Which is the fact that just like nowadays, like how often do you see a carry make the call where he's just like, give up that lane of barracks. I need 2 more minutes to farm, this item. Right. I feel like you never used to see that.
No, you give up 2 even, and you don't even feel bad. Sometimes we lose 2 racks, and I'm like, well, I couldn't care less.
Mm-hmm.
And that's crazy. It used to be GG. Like you lose 2 racks is like it's impossible to come back. You knew the game was gonna unless they throw it like big time.
You remember that the old mantra from Chinese Dota that was kind of like a joke where it's like you lose 2 lanes at barracks and now it's easier to defend because there's only 1 lane to defend now. Right? It's like legitimately, unironically, kind of now.
Against bad players, it's true because they just have this. They have to get the 3rd lane. There's no other way around. True. And then people get smarter and they're like, what if we split them up? What if? And then all of a sudden, a new world kind of opens its doors. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
I mean, I don't know if changing mega creeps would do that much for strategy though.
I think changing whatever it's called, super creeps. I think
yeah.
changing that would have impact. Or if you get more gold from like tier 3 towers opposed to tier 1, tier 2, or more gold from racks, or I don't know, make the tier 3 not refresh glyph, just tier 1, tier 2. I don't know, some crap. The double glyph on tier 3 is brutal, man. If they cut 1 wave, you're done because they have 2 glyphs. So like you're just not taking the tower. If they cut 1 wave, you're done. Like you have to keep like 2 waves alive because 1 wave is getting full like 100 to 0 by the stupid glyph.
Yeah, that's the biggest deal for sure. Like that's really what's stopping these kind of openings or this way to play the game. For sure, something has to be done about glyph if they want to bring back and it's gonna open a whole new layer. It's always the butterfly effect, right? Because if certain heroes are allowed to end the game against others, then all of a sudden, the pool of hero changes, the laning phase changes, the itemization changes, everything changes. But yeah.
Or just like when 1 Rex dies, the carry gets to pick an item from the shop. Then we're gonna have cores that want to
gracious.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, but think about the hype when he chooses Divine Rapier. Oh shit. All right. I actually want to talk about OG unless you guys wanted to talk about this topic a little bit more.
No, I'm happy.
Okay. So Ceb, how is let's start with Timado, right? You guys just picked up Timado. With the post-game interviews that we've heard, you seem to have a lot of great things to say about him. You're having a good time with him, I take it?
Yeah, great time, honestly. Great guy, super positive, just nice to be around him. Very well spoken, which I'm not necessarily used to when it comes to carry players. There's something with carry players where I think they just tend to be less vocal or less, I don't know, they're in their own kind of egoisto world, and whenever they open up, it's to tell you that they got this item at 13 minutes, and usually they get it at 14 minutes, and you're like, yeah, that's not what I was going for, but whatever, dude, keep telling me about the minutes. But no, I mean, he's great. I don't know. Everything is nice about him, and he's a great player too, so yeah, he's an unexpected perfect fit. I say unexpected because it's not like we really scouted or anything like that. It just came up as a suggestion because we really felt like we needed a change, and Ari brought it up, and we didn't really know him. He knew him, obviously, and worked out great. We were really, really enjoying playing with him.
So it seems like you're having a lot of fun from the Dreamleague cams. I felt like every single time they showed you on screen, you were laughing, which something I imagine, I imagine in the old OG it was No Tail who was probably making you laugh so much, but who on this team is making you laugh all the time?
There's a lot of funny shit happening. There's just a good vibe playing with these guys. Not every game. Sometimes the games are too tense and it kind of gets to us. And that's something we're trying to work on. I think it's really what holds us back in some of the games in this tournament where we kind of developed, we started caring too much about these games in a sense. And I think it hurt us because I think we play the best when we're actually just chilling and playing the game and having fun while playing it. There's a lot of goofy stuff being said or happening, I don't know, it's just some chat wheels and some pings and some stuff because people under communicate. Like for instance, Whisper he's not so comfortable speaking fast in English, so there's a lot of stuff he does with pings or high fives and stuff, and he's kind of trying to let you know what he wants to do. And sometimes it looks really sketchy, and you just can't stop laughing at it. You're like, what the hell is happening? You feel like you're stuck in a pub, even though you're playing like some important tournament game, and there's like a guy in a pub that's muted or something, and he's trying to talk to you. I don't know. There's like a lot of goofy stuff happening in the game, so we're just having fun with it, honestly, and trying to keep the good vibe also while playing. So that's mostly the reason for it.
Does he do the well played?
Yeah.
I have this thing with Nisha where like if I take the bounty rune and I didn't ask him, he won't say anything. He won't do anything. But I know like within a frame of me clicking the bounty rune, the well played is gonna come up if he muted
really
it.
funny.
It's really funny. And like he won't say anything, and he won't say anything after the game, and he will never bring anything up. But I know like the well played is because I took the bounty rune. You know, I immediately know.
I think it's really like to me. There's something really fun about the usage of like ally chat wheel. I got introduced to that. To me, like the pinnacle of that was Ana, because like he just wouldn't speak, and in the middle of team fights, when I would go back to replays, I would see he would like nice, get back or something in the middle of the team fight. Nobody's paying attention to that stuff. You know, what are you doing? Just use your goddamn microphone. And he's just like not saying a single word, just cricket sounds, and then you actually got the full comm through chat wheels. And I think also the theory was back then that we realized it adds up also to the feeling of feeling strong like in the game, because you're like for one to play the game at such a high pace and have the headspace to chat wheel, communicate through that, and you know that's like another layer of something you have to do in the game, right? Like it's micro, so it probably means that person is just like feeling good and feeling free enough to do so. I think it sends like a positive signal also to teammates.
Did you? How many times did you have the conversation with Anna? Because Anna was notorious for not speaking at all. Like, what did you guys have to have that conversation back in the day multiple times of like, dude, you gotta use your mic.
We tried. We really tried, and it just never came. It actually never came, and at some point we just gave up. And I remember we had conversations about asking him what the sounds mean, and that conversation was crazy. It was like, so when you say like, oh, what does that mean? You know? And he's like, I think it's like I don't like it, but I'm not sure what's gonna happen. Like literally, and okay, and then we're like almost taking notes, you know. And then you're like, this is like I'm sure I don't like this, so this means fucking TP or like help, you know. And this is like help, but maybe just leave me or something, you know, like whatever. And then we had this whole like soundboard where we would just agree, and we just had this natural instinct of like, that doesn't sound good, you know. And then you actually look to TP or you look to help him or something, or sometimes you're just like, he's gone and stuff like that. So it's funny. I mean, every player is different, right? And I think some players are really well spoken, they communicate a lot, and it's great, and some don't. And I think it's also fine because probably, you know, that headspace is going somewhere else, and that's okay.
Yeah. On a somewhat similar topic of like vibes and like communication, things like this, I was curious about like the speeches. Like, was that something like, so you know, there's like the ones in like True Sight and stuff like this, and there's Cebs speeches of fame. Was that something that you did like because you felt like there was a need? Were there ever times where you like felt like people needed to do one, but you didn't feel like you could, or like it didn't come across properly? Did you have speeches you felt like fell flat, or like you didn't get it across right, you didn't find the words? Like, I'm just like, because I've tried to do that on different teams where I can feel there's like something needs to be said, and sometimes trying to find what that thing is that needs to be said, or saying it properly, the right tone, like the right words, is very hard to do consistently, I feel.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, definitely in the early days, some felt really flat, you know, and these were not caught on camera. Lucky for me, but I think like the ones that fell flat sometimes were mostly when I was a coach, when I started coaching, and sometimes. So I think I definitely usually have like decent reads on what's happening in the room. That's definitely one of my strengths compared to weaknesses. So I usually have an idea of like, but it also comes from experience. I think when you play a lot and you went through a lot yourself, you kind of identify situations. You're like, well, I think that's what's going on here, that these are nerves, or there's people being cocky or too relaxed or too tense, whatever. Then you get your read and you're like, okay, like I think that's what they need, but how do I convey that? When I was coaching at first, I would actually think about before what I want to say, how I'm going to say it. that's like, funny enough, these were the hardest one and the ones that fell flat the most. And then I realized that actually what really worked for me, but I think I would extend that as like working for everyone, is well, first of all, you got to understand truly the people you're working with and you're around. So there's like a lot of like observation and empathy but that's like it builds up before the moment.
Yeah.
Like you just got to know who you're with, and what are their language, like how do they function, to try to read them, and also like understand how to talk to them and what they understand and what they don't understand and what they react positively to, like all of that, energy. And I think the most important, if I had an advice to give, and like to me what really worked, is being really convinced about what you mean yourself, like kind of in your heart, believing it. So let's say that the team lost confidence and they're struggling to find it back. Whether I have it or not in the moment doesn't matter, and the words that I'm going to use doesn't matter. It's like I need to find it within me. And once I really got to that emotional state where I feel strong, I feel confident, then I know that whatever words I'm going to use are going to be the right ones. Because in reality, I think the real conversations that we usually have, us humans, is not really the words. I think it's more of like body language and energy and tone, and whether you're looking at people in the eye when you speak to them or you're not. I could be finding the perfect words and kind of looking away every second. I'm not focused on what I'm doing, and these things happen. And then they'll be like, yeah, he half believes it, Or I could be actually super cringe with the words that come, and I'm like, gibberish and stuff, because it's not even my native language, but I'm so convinced of it. It's so deep in my heart and it's coming from the guts that I know they're gonna feel that energy, and they're just gonna pick up on it instantly. And to me, it's when I started doing that work, kind of like that, implementing that system for myself. Then I realized, okay, like whatever I'm conveying, it's really, really working. They're picking up on it, and I can feel like the uprising energy. Or sometimes I needed to tone it down, whatever, but it works. And then we just go over the right level as we go into it.
It's not exactly the same, but I think as a caster, I think the one thing that I always, whenever I've done any sort of VOD review with casters or any of my co-casters, in fact, every single one of them, the number one thing we usually have to work on is like energy and emotion, right? It's like what the words you put into the cast very often don't matter. It's more so the words and emotion that are coming across that will resonate with the audience almost no matter what. Whereas the words, the words that you put in, especially in the middle of like hype moments like team fights and stuff, like those can be whatever, right? But people, the audience will react so much more to the emotion that you're putting into it, right? So I think that's kind of similar to what you're saying.
And it makes a lot of sense, right? Because you can encounter somebody that you don't speak the same language, for instance, and there's still a lot of communication happening through looks, through I don't even know through what, and there might be even layers of it that we're not even aware of it. I don't know, like magnetism or whatever. Like I don't know what's going on, between human beings, but there's probably much more than just the words that we're using. If anything, these words are usually like an attempt of like hiding how we really feel, or what we wish we could say or not say and stuff. So I think it's what happens kind of behind the words that really matters, and that comes from feeling how and thoughts. So that's what you have to kind of work on and get right, and then whatever comes out of your mouth is just going to be correct, honestly.
So somebody on Twitter actually asked kind of similar to this question, Ghost X. She asked if she said, people always say we need a Cebs speech. We never ask, does anyone give speeches to Ceb? Do you remember a speech that somebody gave to you that stood out in your mind?
I mean, Johan used to give me a lot of speeches.
Yeah,
actually, and I mean, he really built me up to be that person within a team, because I was the opposite. And I think that's also what held me back for the longest time. Like my persona as a player has always been like, I'm a perfectionist. Things are never good enough. Dota is like a masterpiece. So I always look at games. It's really rare that I look at a game that I've played or that my team played and I'm like, that was a good game. In my opinion, it's always like either super trash or acceptable, and a good game is like everything just is perfect, and usually the game should end minute 13. The game should be over. You should be raxing them or something. That's like a normal game of Dota, in my opinion. and that holds me back because that comes with a lot of frustration. And then Dota is just endless frustration, because nothing is happening how it should. That's kind of my world of Dota, so it's hard to deal with, right? And it really used to ruin me. It used to become toxicity, frustration, negativity, all these things that I didn't realize. That was a long time ago, right? Like 10 years ago, that I didn't realize were actually just bringing me to lose one game after the other. And he really enlightened me on the importance of like what actually wins you Dota games even more than Dota itself. Like what is there? Like that Dota is the tip of the iceberg, and then it's humans playing this game, right? And it's human beings are gonna have to work together and work well together in order to win the game. So in that sense, he was the one giving me speeches on mentality, on all these things, and I've learned a lot from him. And I've realized, and I learned how to win basically thanks to him. If I had to sum it up, so yeah. But no, it hasn't happened in a while, and I miss it for sure. Not that I don't learn from other people, I do, but in terms of all right, sit down, listen carefully, and you'll like it. No, that thing hasn't happened in a while.
Sounds like Misha needs to take some public speaking classes or something for you, so you can sit there in the chair.
Pretty high when it comes to Johan takeaways.
Yeah.
The bar it's pretty high. Sometimes he does like like when I'm really lost or confused, like I go to him for sure, just for inspiration, because I just trust his outlook of things, even when he's away from the game. It's just like he just has. Yeah, I just enjoy his takes generally in life, and it translates into Dota because it's similar.
How often do you guys talk about your team and stuff?
About the team, not as much as I would like to, because OG keeps us busy a lot, and the team keeps me busy on the side, of course. So about the team, maybe once every 2 weeks, or once a week, once every 2 weeks, something like that. Maybe more so once every 2 weeks. But we speak almost daily on other things.
There was a whole bunch of stuff that happened over the last 3 weeks, but I guess the one thing that I kind of wanted to get your guys' take on, especially with Ceb here, during Dreamleague we had the MindControl thing, where MindControl got kicked right before, or kicked / he put out an ultimatum, and he ended up getting forced out of the team right before their match versus Shopify. So for the audiences watching, if you guys want the details on this, basically MindControl, he talked about it on a Gorp stream where he felt like originally it was kind of his team and he was the captain and stuff, and then over time his control over the team has been chipped away by various org decisions. They picked up Pure, and Pure became the captain, and MindControl said he was fine with that, especially since they were owning and stuff like that. But then the org also wanted to pick up Moon Meander, and he didn't really like that, and they took Moon Meander on as a coach, basically without his input. And the latest one, which is probably just, I imagine, is just the smallest little grievance, but it was the straw that broke the camel's back, is Zai being picked up as general manager for Tundra. So at that point in time, he said enough is enough, and he put an ultimatum to, I think, the CEO of Tundra, and said basically, enough is enough, my way or I'm out of the team. And they chose to let MindControl go. So what were your guys' takes on that?
I mean, I don't know much. I don't really know like the people on the inside. I only really know Zai. And for me, watching it, like I don't really know MC that well. I was quite confused because like I know how Zai is, and he's not really the type of guy to like come in and like be like, all right, boys, this is how it's gonna be. Y'all are listening to me, and this is the way we're moving forward. Like he captained our team for a year. I don't think one time he like laid down the law. You know what I mean? He's not like that type. So like I assume like MC obviously doesn't know that about Zai when Zai's being brought in. All he knows is like Tundra's side of things. So for me, that was like probably the only thing that I had like thoughts on. I was like, probably wouldn't have been the way he thought it would be. And other than that, no real takes. But I understand like from an org perspective, it's like you probably are always gonna go with the other end of the ultimatum. You're gonna stick to your decisions over like some player trying to strong arm you. Yeah, I don't know.
Seb, you have a lot of experience with mind control. I thought it was surprising that he would make such a strong stance, I guess, in that regard.
Yeah.
I regarded from the outside mind control to be more of a go with the flow guy. So I was surprised that he stood up for himself in that way, I guess.
I mean, I know that he took a lot of responsibility in Tundra. That was like the impression I was under, and that probably played a role in how he reacted to, because if you're going to take responsibility in the team's development and you want to commit to it, which is what he made, and it's a big move for him, right? Because he was Enigma for so long, and it probably, he probably really thought this through, like, do I want to leave? Do I want to do something else? And then he's like, okay, I'm going to leave and I'm going to be a captain. And it comes with a lot of weight, and maybe sometimes with like overreactions. Like maybe if things were different, he would have been like, but from what I understood, he already kind of had that sequences where he decided to cope with certain things he disagree with, and he's like, it's fine, I can cope with that, and then it's like, as you said, it's like at some point it's too much. But it's hard for me to have an opinion on it, because I think obviously from the outside you have an opinion, and that's like the average Twitter/Reddit take, which is like, trash takes. So my take on this is trash, because I don't have the, but I can still give it. It's fun for once. I'm on the right side of things. To me, the one thing I am allergic to, and it's one of the big reasons for why we started OG in the first place, is, to me, it always sounds unreal having org people have any say in whatever happens around the team. To me, it's crazy. It's like that somebody outside of the players and like the competent people when it comes to understanding the game and playing the game, being like, this guy should be the captain, or this guy should be the coach, or this guy should. To me, it's like, what the hell do you think you're talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what? Like, what allows you to, like, giving an opinion can be fine, but what allows you to make a decision? And of course, some people could be, well, this is my org and this is my money, or whatever. And I went through that, right, in the early stages of esport. And I'm not saying that's what played out here, but to me, it always sounds dangerous. Like, the frontier between the two things is very tricky. And as a player, I know that I would never be able to accept it. And luckily, I don't have to deal with that. And I also apply that to myself. It's like, obviously, I have opinions on Dota when it comes to OG Dota, and these opinions are valid because I know what I'm talking about. But when it comes to, even though I could enforce any decision in OG for other games, I never do so, and I stay away from it. And I'm very humble when it comes to any of it, because, like, sure, it doesn't matter what I did in Dota. I know nothing about CS. I know nothing about you name it. And in that sense, I don't think I should have a say, if anything, even though, I have a lot more to lose than other people when it comes to these things, but it still doesn't matter, right? So to me, that's the part that always questions me, is like, how much is being forced upon the players? Because I don't think it should ever be the case, legitimately. And I'm on the org side of things now too, so I know exactly what's going on behind the scenes, and I still didn't change my mind when it comes to that.
Was it ever made public how like the other 4 players, what their takes were on the situation, or if they had like?
I never saw anything.
Me neither.
Because that would be the interesting thing to me, is to know, like, if they felt like that was the case, because realistically it's just MC versus the board. Like, that's it. Like, nobody really knows much else. So we can sort of speculate about, like, maybe this wasn't the case, or maybe, like, it wasn't as bad as you say, or maybe it was really bad and MC was right in throwing it. Like, you kind of just don't know unless you get other players' perspectives. The rest of the team, or even the org is like less, like, the org can say something, but it's the org. Like, it's going to be, it's going to be very corporate. Whereas if, like, a player goes on stream and talks about it, it's very different. You get a much more, like, inside look at it, like MC did, right? So if you have both sides, it's a little more interesting. But this is such, like, a weird, nuanced situation that, like, I mean, to me, the only thing that was a bit weird, or the only thing that, like, caught me off guard, was that MC tweeted like he got kicked. And then everyone was like, whoa, that's crazy. Just straight up kicking someone up for the series. And it's like, okay, well, actually, I said, do all this or kick me. And then they kick me. Like, it was like, okay, that's a little different. Maybe don't misconstrue it like that.
True. And I think that the timing was honestly really bad for everybody involved. I think that like the timing of it was really what blew it up, right? Because it's like it's crazy to have that happen. So you can only assume that something really bad must have happened for someone to pull the trigger right before a series. Because I was also thinking about the other players. Like they were literally waiting for the standard. They didn't even know who they were going to play with, right? Because the game was delayed, and then they changed the player throughout the day. So this really must have happened on a heated kind of sequence or decision, literally 20 minutes before the game starts.
There was some beef for sure. They were definitely beefing. There was definitely a dark day. They watched some replay, and there was a kerfuffle, no doubt.
Someone lost 10 pubs, leading up.
Yeah, and it was just the last straw. I'm going straight to the top. And
no, but honestly, I feel like the best take. I know we said this. Maybe this is too spicy to bring up, but when we talked about the sub tweet about Kitrak, I guess it was. We assumed it was, but you never really know what goes on inside of a team. And I think as outsiders, it's pretty good to remember that like we can make speculations and we can guess, but ultimately you never truly know what happens and why people do the things they do, and you probably never will, because I think like these things never fully come out. You're always gonna hear some what do you call it, like he said this and then he said that, and then it's like kind of twisted by the time you hear it version in the end.
So Seb, we had our takes on that tweet. Do you want to say anything about it? Do you want to add anything to it, or are you just good to let it lie?
Yeah, I can. I mean, at the end of the day, all of this is entertainment to me. Like, and it's like people should be responsible for what they do. So at the end, like it's like I have not like it's like I'm ready to be responsible for everything I do because I try my best, and at the end of the day, whatever I get what I deserve, and I think everybody should live by that. So that tweet, obviously that tweet was for Kitrak. I mean, and I always hear people like, and it was the same with the EG, like the move to EG from Fly and Gustav, like telling Gustav, like people are like, oh, but changing teams is okay. It's like, come on, I've been on 25 different teams. Like, if anyone knows about changing teams, it's me. Like, I can't count the amount of teams I've been in. Like, I've been kicked, I've kicked, I've been witnessing kicks, and the dark age of esports and Dota. Like back then, you would change teams every 3 weeks, and you didn't really know who you were going to play with the next day. So obviously, that's part of it, and everybody seeks their own interest, obviously, and want to make the most of their competitive time. And I understand that even better now that I'm on the later stages. And when you're young, you probably don't realize that, but as you grow older and as you compete for a while, you start realizing, this thing has it's gonna come to an end at some point, so you want to make the most out of it. All of that, I'm perfectly. Not only do I understand it, I support it. As in, it makes a lot of sense. But to me, like the how is always matters, and it's just a matter of principles, right? It's like how do you behave with people around, and there's a way to do it. That's just just like that respects people's. Just respecting people. Honestly, as simple as that is like how you do it. Basically, how you. The timing of which you, for instance, like the classic thing with Dota, like I say Dota because I haven't been in other esports, so I can only speak about what I know. I'm not generalizing, but what I've seen so much is like people wait to be online, for instance, to have that conversation, which they themselves know it's not justified, right? It's just because they're being maybe color is too strong of a word, but that's my limit of my vocabulary. But they're just like anxious or nervous about having the conversation, so they decide to have it late. They decide to not have it, which is even worse. They decide to not have it face to face, which at the end of the day are just bad decisions, right? And I don't think trying to justify these moves is correct. Back to the thing is like the way it was done was very. I don't want to get into details because. I like Kitrak. I think he's a nice guy overall. I just think he fucked up, and he must know he fucked up because he's a nice guy. If he was a prick, he probably wouldn't realize, but he's not. So I really did not enjoy. I did not confront him with it because, and I don't want to. I'm actually not a beefy person, even though people think I am. I'm just having fun on socials. I'm not the kind of guy to chase and stuff. I was like, let him be. It doesn't matter, honestly. May he has a nice. I don't want to have to deal with these people anymore in the future. Of course, I don't want to get caught burn myself twice. and that's it, really. You know, I wish him the best. The how was very poor. I think he's probably not proud of what he did. It's okay. I've met people like that in the past. People fuck up. I know I'm gonna meet more of them in the future. I'm ready for it. It's not a big deal. But it was not about changing teams. You know, you can change teams. Wish you the best. It's about how you do it. I think people deserve, especially when people gave a lot, in terms of their time, in terms of, you know, they just deserve the very minimum respect. Is like, hey, I'm gonna do that. This is my choice. It's not even about coming for validation or something. It's just, you know, letting people know in timing so that they can also, you know, preserve their own path. I don't think you need to stomp on people for your own choices. I don't like that mentality. And I think in general also, you cannot create a nice team environment and a safe team environment if you don't lead by example. And I think if you show your teammates or your future teammates that, hey, that's the person that I'm willing to be in for my own interest, well, good luck building a strong team. Because at some point, a strong team that's going to go for championships and win on a stable basis is going to need trust. They're going to need respect. They're going to need all of that. And these things are even more outside the game than inside the game. They're built outside. So for all these reasons, even for people's own interest and own careers, I think they should be pushed to behave a certain way. Yeah, and that's not me saying don't change teams. If you leave my team, I'm mad. Of course not.
Yeah.
I live in the real world.
Sounds like Cebs is mad because Kitrak left his team, guys.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's just
That's
so
the
salty
TLDR.
right now.
So salty.
No,
dude.
Dota gamers and being conflict avoidant in real life is a classic. You know, they'll get in all kinds of conflict in real.
I wish I could be like that. Of course, my first thought is like, what if I don't have that conversation? What if I just pretend I wasn't there and somebody will do it for me? I have this too, but then I'm man up and I'm like, well, this is a really bad conversation and, you know, not enjoyable. I still gonna have it because I gotta grow up, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's all it is really.
Yeah, that's fair enough. You on a lighter topic, you had a couple other tweets, or at least one other during Dreamleague, which was the imagine losing to position 3 Rubik, Dagon, Rush, and Ruiner on position 1, which was a banger tweet, as was Ari's, who did the you might not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like, with Whisper having the Dagon 5. What was going on in that match? Do you think Dagon 5 offlane Rubik Rush is a good choice? Because you guys tried it later in the tournament, right?
That's just Whisper things. Like all of a sudden, this guy he doesn't say a word, and then you go to a fight, and this Weaver just gets one shot by a Dagon 3, and you're like, what the hell just happened? What? And then you kick your Rubik, he has mana boots Dagon. You know, like that's the kind of stuff, because he's so quiet that he's not gonna be the guy to tell you guys, I have Dagon, come gank to me. Never. So he just quietly plays his game, you know. Ari's trying to tag along to whatever he sees or tries to understand, and yeah, and then all of a sudden there's like a Dagon Rubik running around with Sukuchi just Dagoning everybody, you know, and using chat wheel or like high-fiving you after he Dagoned the Weaver, and you're like, what the hell is going on? Like, we went from playing these gruesome games of like, okay, let's try to do this, let's try to do that, to all of a sudden this is like just some late night party queue where you don't even know what's going on anymore. So yeah, it was really funny. And then the tweet is about it's a thing with Falcons with like Amar and Marine. There's a lot of friendly banter. So you know, you get back at them when you can, because obviously right now they're on top of things. So if you have like a little opportunity to get back at them, you try to use it. You're like, okay, you might stomp us every time, but you lost to Dagon 5 Rubik, so you know, get your shit together.
What? So you guys did that again later on in the tournament, and that one did not work. Is this one of those like you took it, you like he chose to do that, and you guys were like, wait, is this actually good, or was that him just doing his own thing again?
I think it was him doing his own thing, and us obviously like trying to adapt to it. Definitely, maybe did not understand. I don't think he understood to the extent like what enabled it in the game against Falcons. Versus it was against Quinn, actually. I think it was against Gaming that he went for the Dagon Rubik. And in that game, obviously, he doesn't get away with it the same way. It's like a drafting thing, the heroes he's playing against. But, you know, I think like freedom sometimes brings a lot of good, and sometimes, it holds you back a little bit.
Mm.
So you got to find the right balance. And some games are meant to be won and some are meant to be lost. Not that we lost because of the dig and build, but
Sure.
definitely did not impact the game as much as it did against Falcons. So you live and you learn, But I still value freedom. I think it's interesting, having someone feeling free enough to just be like, you know what, like this is a dig and Ruby game. Oh, just go for it, man. Let's, everybody's trying to win at the end of the day. Nobody enjoys losing.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's having fun. I bought Dagon and I'm just getting killed every time I leave Fountain. Nobody's having fun. Especially not him. It's actually really depressing. Clicking Dagon on somebody and not seeing the guy die wasn't the most depressing thing ever, and then dying after it. You must feel like an absolute fool. So, you just got to trust people for wanting to win and doing what they think is right and try and enable it.
It inspired us though. I know we've had more conversations about Dagon in this team than I think ever, and the viability in which situations you could buy it. Because it actually, like, at least for us, something that came up is the fact that it heals so much.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy also.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of cool when you see something like this. Maybe like it doesn't always work, but it might show you the situations in which it could work. And I think it goes back to like the earlier conversation where like, some one person does this and it works in this one particular game. And now, suddenly there's like 40 people trying to break it down. Like, why did it work? Like, Dagon is not supposed to work. This is probably like before last time when we wrapped up our conversation, we were like, Leshrak's the worst hero. And then after this podcast, it was the worst. And then after this podcast, like every single game is going to feature a Dagon. Like every mid laner, you're going to see Void Spirit, like Dagon, first item, just running around crushing people. Like it's cool when this stuff happens. And I think like you always need someone to be the first guy. And then a lot of people will follow and a lot of people will try to copy and they'll try to make it better. And I think that's like, what's so nice about when these odd things do happen.
And the balls to be that guy, to be the first to do it in an official match like that is it's pretty crazy. So props to him for doing that and pulling it off.
Yeah,
it's like he Spirit Breaker.
Oh yeah, that was crazy too, actually. Yeah, but these things, honestly, like they rarely look bad. I think when somebody like, yes, sometimes, but when somebody really is feeling it and he's enabled, most of the time you look at these things and you're like, well, this is really nice, Like I wanna break it down. I wanna understand it.
I think at Bet Boom we got like 40 questions about Mjollnir TA.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Like I feel like a billion people ask me like, what's this Mjollnir TA? And I'm like, if we win, I'll tell you. Which luckily we didn't, so I didn't have to say anything.
You won games with it, didn't you?
We won like every game with it. It ended up being like a perma ban. Even in Dreamleague, it was like banning against us every game.
That was first phase ban. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. This stuff's cool.
We're going to wrap up the podcast here. Thanks so much for watching All Chat. Hopefully we'll be back next week. Crazy, a lot of tournaments going on, but hopefully we'll be able to run another episode soon. We'll be able to talk about the patch, hopefully. So, Ceb, thanks for coming on. Anything else you want to say before we close out?
No, I mean, thanks for having me. It was fun. Fun talking to you guys. I don't have enough time these days to like sit down with people and chat like between my own life and Dota. I'm struggling. I miss these days where you could just like where I could just share more with people from other teams. So this was nice. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I'll be tuning in on the next ones. I didn't catch much of it, but I'll be tuning in. You got yourself a new viewer now.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Now you got to go back.
We recruited one, guys. We're this is
so
how we do
bad.
it.
You got to go back
more than one. I can only speak for myself.
We have like 7 viewers now. Let's go, guys.
All right, nice.
You got to go back and watch the one where we talk about the Ceb tweet now.
I will.
All right. Well, we'd love to have you on again. So thanks, Ceb, and hopefully we'll have you on some other time. Bye, guys. Second tweet, players are getting blamed constantly. Half the casts are about private jokes and just people telling their little stories. Hashtag not enjoyable.
I don't know why, but hashtag not enjoyable is so funny.
That hashtag really
guys,
sells it, man.
Hashtag is so good, it's unreal.
Oh my god, the hashtag is so bad.
Hashtag not enjoyable is really funny.
Did I make it my Steam name, man? Oh my goodness.
Oh my